Hi. Hello. Welcome. Welcome to Jake's Existential Kitchen. This is episode 9. It is a special one. It's special to me. Today's guest is one of my oldest and closest friends. We've known each other, give or take, 10 years now. Which, is like over a third of both of our lives. We have lived together, traveled together, played in multiple bands together. We've been a duet together. We've grown together and apart, and together and apart and together. All the things. So very grateful to know. And one of the most kind and thoughtful and creative people that I know, and grateful to call him my family, my brother. And I'm grateful for you to be here and sharing in this conversation and the feelings and the thoughts and ideas with us. Super cool to me. Thank you. I'm gonna not talk too much myself and just get right into it today. First, the music that I'm gonna play, the clip to introduce the podcast is going, and also after the conversation, I'm gonna play a longer clip from the same session. It was a jam session, just like we got together and played. Michael and Lord Princess and myself got together one day, maybe 4 or 5 months ago, and just played for hours. And I set up a little portable recorder, just to listen. And some fun stuff happened. And so I'm just gonna play a little bit of that to introduce the podcast, and then play a little bit of a longer thing at the end. Without further ado, let's all open our hearts and welcome Michael Nichols. Thank you.
Well, I found a girl. There ain't none around in the whole wide world. So I wanna be the man that everyone
Welcome. Welcome, Michael.
Sealing the
hatch. Commencing liftoff. Yeah, it's really like a spaceship. It's like a weird time. It's like a time capsule. It is because now all of a sudden that crystal structure that I was talking about is
draped over.
Yeah, and it's boop, okay. So what is this? This moment right now with the beeping in the background and the birds and stuff. It's really it's fun.
Feels like an egg, kind of like the shape of that microphone. It's
just we're floating through time in it.
Hmm.
In the river of time in this egg of sound.
Well, and oftentimes I feel more open than I do right now, in the sense of feeling like I'm in an egg, like an energetic egg, which is partially, I guess probably mostly, just my decision, of being I'm going to put myself in this egg with you.
Yeah.
And we're going to hang out in this egg. The rest of the times I'm if anyone gives me a phone call, I'll pick it up,
Right.
Or maybe I'll text somebody, or maybe I'm thinking about somebody, or or any of that.
Yeah, well, I mean, what this is
Or maybe
called,
I gotta be somewhere in an hour.
dude, podcasting, like
Right.
a pod.
Yeah.
Like hop in the pod
Hop
and
in
then
the pod.
cast the moment out. But that's what's really cool about doing this outside here, like in this area. It's like it is that space based on our attention and like our like agreement to like, okay, for right
Yeah,
now we're
yeah.
just gonna pay attention to each other, you know. But we're in a space too that's like there's no walls, you know. So it's like that also that pod extends out to the birds and all the other things that are happening around us. But it seems that like, yeah, it lies with us to kind of hold that space. And it's really interesting to me, like what that, because as soon as we do this, to me it highlights how literally all the rest of my time is not spent like this at all. You know,
Totally,
like
yeah.
with anybody at all. There's
Totally.
always something else going on.
Yeah, rarely do I like turn off my phone. Rarely, even though I feel like I'm pretty. If I've made the point to like be with somebody, I'm usually pretty present and not like. Most of the time, if somebody were to call me, I would not pick it up, or if somebody were to text me, I'm not going to look at my phone. But even more so in this, like, these decisions to be like, it's not even going to, like, come into my presence.
Yeah, it almost like, because to me, if my pocket vibrates, it like boop, and then like it literally grabs my attention, you know, from out of like whatever moment or whatever thing is happening. Oh, and then it's like, oh, it must be, and then it like it's this thing in my head. I'm like, okay, well, wait, who was I just talking to? Is it something that should I check out right now? And like there's all this weird, you know, and so to specifically like go out of our way to be like, okay, that connection to that realm is not, you know, and like, and it's crazy how much it has to do with just that, you know, but just the phone and stuff, you know, but also like neither of us are like, you know, cooking dinner right now or like chopping vegetables, because like as much as we both do that together, it's also, and as much as we have done that together and been talking and whatever within that, we're both still doing something else. And so it's still like if we only have a certain amount of energy, or like, you know, a overall ability to, you know, can only multitask so
like
much
a certain amount of attention span.
in a particular moment, then like if we're chopping veggies, that's some of it, you know, that's like say 35%, you know, but then the rest of it is like, you know, talking. This seems to be like an interesting way to kind of optimize
Right.
communication in that realm, and be like, okay, cool. What is nothing else to really do?
Yeah.
So I was thinking, was curious as to where you think ideas come from.
Where I think ideas come from. Oh man. Where I think ideas come from. Huh. I guess that would depend on what makes me feel like that would depend on the type of idea. Like, I think the most understanding or the most like I've thought about a realm of ideas would be like musical ideas. And I feel like musical ideas come from some like slightly altered or different plane than we're on, or just another part of this, and it's like some form of energy that's moving, whether it's coming from somewhere else into here or it's just here, and it's just, I'm not really clear on that, but definitely from outside of like me, there's something wanting to be expressed like through me, and it's being like ba, ba, ba. And my brain goes, ooh, I have an idea.
Right.
I don't know if that applies to other forms of ideas.
I mean, yeah, what are like other forms of ideas?
I don't know, like get an idea for us to like come sit here and do this podcast. Where did
Yeah,
that come
right.
from?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. Like it's it's a combination of things, because it does feel like there's this much, like, as much as us like coming into this moment right now was like instigated by you and I like interacting and like agreeing to like, you know, meet here and you know, find a spot that felt chill. In my experience, there's still quite a large aspect of that that's like we're just doing what's happening, right? Like this is kind of like almost playing a role. It seems like, oh yeah, like we can get together to, like, yeah, on this day, like obviously, like this, yeah, like this will be a fun thing to do. Yeah, let's think we should do that. And it's like, so it's, you know, yeah, and specifically with the podcast, like, because I relate a lot musically also, but the podcast has been another way for me to see that kind of thing happening because of like what you just pointed out. Because it's like, yeah, I was like, hey, what are you doing, something you know, Friday, whatever. But like it was more like kind of like a, I don't know, no-brainer or something to me. It was just kind of like, oh yeah, this is just kind of comes around. Like I'm not like calculating anything necessarily, you know, and but after the fact, I could look at it like that and be like, oh well, yeah, but I was free on that day, and then maybe that like. And
Well, what about like the initial, not even specifically like the idea to get together today, but like the initial idea of like you being like, well, I mean, if you're like, I'm doing podcasts, and you're like, oh, I want to do one with Michael.
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
like, I think just like a general, like not like a collective culmination of like everything we've experienced together, you know, and specific conversations that we've had, but also just like the general like relationship that you and I have. I feel like was just like, yeah, like I said, it was just kind of like a no-brainer. I was like, oh yeah, at some point we're going to do that, because it seems like it just fits right in with like, oh, we could explore this realm. And so it was kind of like, yeah, because this to me feels like, in the same way with music, like I just gotta do it. you
Yeah,
know,
totally,
like
yeah.
I just gotta play, and like literally whatever that looks like, I just gotta do this, you know. And I feel that way with the podcast too. And so like we were just talking about, it's like as soon as you start the thing, something happens, and then all of a sudden, like, you know, we're having these conversations about these concepts, and later on we can both, I guarantee, listen back to this file and like think about exactly what we're talking about, but in a different way, you know. So like it's just, there's all these interesting things to me about just exploring this form of like expression. And yeah, immediately I was like right away when I wanted to do it and started doing it, I was like, I made a list of like, you know, people who I wanted to do this with, and then how we got here to this moment is like how it was like kind of, I feel like a part of how it was like the seed was for me. It was like the seed was planted. I think I said something about it like, you know, weeks ago or like a month ago or something.
Times you've been like, yeah, we should do this.
Yeah, and like this is when our paths are like naturally crossing, you know, also. And it's like, oh yeah, no, this to me it's like, this feels like exactly the right time, you know.
Yeah, definitely the last few conversations we had made me really want to do because I think when you first said it, I was like, yeah, totally, that'd be cool. You know, it wasn't like a oh yes, we have to do this. But it was like, yeah, like, you know, we always have cool talks. But the last like few conversations we've had, it was like, whoa,
Dude, doing this.
yeah,
Like, this would maybe be like the 10th episode or something like that. I can't remember. There's a couple that I still have to, but like, just from being in this space like a couple times, you know, where like now all of a sudden we get to work with ideas, you know, in a sense where it's like, instead of like, I mean, it's very similar with music to me, you know. It's like I'm just playing in my bedroom alone, you know, but I'm just like thinking about ideas or whatever thing occasionally, like, you know, reading some book like by myself. That's, you know, that's cool. But like for me, I just musically and like conversationally, it really is, it takes on a whole different level, and like so it can be just propelled like upwardly, and if and when it's like a collaborative thing, you know. And it's just like music, you could just, the feels and the rhythms, like I mean, I learned everything pretty much rhythmically from just like playing with other people, playing along to like records of different people, and it's just kind of like, oh, like it's a conversation. This is how we can all grow in this way, and it seems like it's something like conversationally that can, you know, kind of be worked out too.
yeah. I think having a, like, for this situation, the fact that we have an intention to like have a conversation does a lot, and I think that's true of a lot of things. You get, I think you see more results or more like fruition of your labor if you have an intention going into something. Like music, if you like get together with a group of people and are like, hey, we like, let's like do this, or let's, whether it's specific like, hey, let's play these songs, or if it's like, hey, let's explore this kind of, let's jam in this kind of like realm or something, I think you will end up with a more like solidified fruit of your time. Whereas if you go into it without any like intention, and this conversation is a good point, you know, and like the last few conversations we have, I think we've talked a lot about that, about the like magic of your words and saying things and making them happen. And there is there's like a power that you have to create things in your life, and I think the only thing that separates things you do and say from having that power is like your intention and your
Attention also.
yeah, your attention to them. And you could, you know, say the same thing, but if you really mean it, then that has power. Whereas if you don't, then it is powerless.
Right. I mean, like, I could tell you that I've been lifting weights every other day. but, you know.
Or you could tell me you're going to start lifting weights.
Exactly. And, you know, okay. But, you know, when it comes down to, like, you know, like lifting the couch or whatever the thing is, it's, you know, then we'll find out what, you know, actually
and
happens.
like, and doing this podcast, you know, you being like, we should do this. And me being like probably like the first time I said, yeah, it didn't have as much power. I wasn't like, yes, I'm going to like really put that in my space to like make time for that. Whereas like the last time we saw each other, I was like, that's where I was. I was like, yes, I was like, yeah, totally, we should like. And here we are doing it like the day before you leave, which is.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you feel that is that thing that kind of like makes it a certain time? You know, like
The what?
the timing of things. You know, instead of like at a different time. What it's just like, oh, like.
I mean, some of it is just like our decisions, but also a lot of it, I think, when you're listening to like the rhythm of your life, you will end up making decisions in what I might say are everything happening in the right time, or like when you and the people around you will most benefit from those things happening. So you could like make decisions to get a ton of things done and accomplish a bunch of things, but if you're not doing those things in like the right time for the rhythm of your life, then you might not benefit from them as much as if you had waited, or you know, like all in due time. And so I think like when like the weird like synchronicities happen and things like that, I think it's just like when one person or multiple people are like synced up with that. And that's, I think it's just kind of like life's funny way of like kind of like a like reward of humor almost, you know. Like, isn't that funny? Wow, look at that.
It's almost like
lucky.
Like what's the word? Yeah, I don't know. It's just very like on the nose kind of sometimes. Just like
It's like, yeah.
like yep. Of course.
Right.
And it seems like, I don't know, it's a wild thing because it seems like, oh well, the more I try to like bend time around what I what I want or what I think it needs to happen or something,
Bend yourself around time.
yeah, it just doesn't like. Yeah, it just doesn't work. You know, it just doesn't work. Or the only way for it to work is like at the cost of essentially just being miserable on some level. You know,
Right.
At least for me, that's usually the thing. And so then it's like, well, wait, what is the actual flow of time right now? Like, what does that even mean, really? But I don't know. I know in my life there's been certain times where there's just like a lot of like road signs that just cosmic road signs that kind of just like are lighting up, and it's kind of like, oh, I don't have to pay attention to that, but it's just like it seems like maybe I should go that way.
I've been having that a lot with plants lately. Like going on, like walking around here, there was like a few times I would like see certain flowers are like a big thing for sure, that we'll just be like, I'm like, I feel like I should go over there. The plants have been like communicating to me in that way. Hey, over here. And what?
Some birds up there.
Yeah, the plants have really been kind of directing me a lot lately.
Have they been like, what have they been doing? Like asking for help or something, or just kind of like, come over and hang out?
I don't know. I think they just like. I think I've just been like giving space to listen and be aware, and so far all they've really wanted to do is just kind of lead me in directions here and there. Or sometimes just like especially with like oak trees, they're so like grand that it's like I'm just like beholding them is like quite a thing to do.
So are you talking about like going somewhere and kind of feel like being like, oh, I want to go around like that bend because there's something like growing over there?
Yeah, like
You
for
just
whatever reason, whether it's just for my like enjoyment or it seems like they are interested in like guiding me.
Hmm.
Like when we were on that hike and I was like climbing up that rock face, every little like turn I would like kind of like oh, how do I get up here? Do I go like this way? And I would like peek around a corner and there'd be like this plant that was just like very much caught my attention. And I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna go over there and like check that out. And then I'd like go over there. And then from there I'd be like, oh, then I go this way. And then I'd like turn around a corner and there'd be like this plant like right in my face. Whoa,
Interesting.
hey. And then I like ended up on a cool spot. That was, and it wasn't like I mean, I guess that's for all of our benefit, because the more I am in touch with that and the more I'm like enjoying being outside and the more I'm enjoying just experiencing them, the more I'm interested in caring for them, which is good for all of us. So
Yeah.
I guess it's like it feels like a pretty unconditional love thing, you know? I'd be like, we'll be here for you either way.
Yeah. But like, please.
But it'd be nice if you like help us out a little bit.
Yeah. For real. I hear that. Interesting. So how long has that been going on?
A few months. Probably like since I've been like reading that book, Breeding Sweetgrass.
Do you think that it's been that it's something unique to like the plants right now, or is it something that's like something that you've experienced previous to that, but through like that realm?
I think I'm just like paying attention. I think it's like they're there and willing to communicate. If you're willing to listen.
Interesting. And what have you learned from the plants? It's kind of like a fat question, you know. This is like, bring me back the scrolls. Carry.
I don't know if I've had anything too profound that I've learned from plants.
But just like being guided
From
around
recently.
sounds pretty like, you know, is there like something in that you see that's kind of like, what?
There's definitely like subtle things, like I mean, like gardening and like helping out the plants is like the like caring for young plants and like helping them, like weeding around them and watering them and like kind of taking care of them until they can do it on their own is the benefit of like taking care of anything. It shows you like how much we need other people, how much we need each other, and how much everything has its like phases, and it's nice to know that, you know, and there's like a back and forth. Sometimes there's like something that you should take care of, and sometimes you need to be taken care of. So, you know, compassion, I guess I'd sum that up too. Compassion and care.
That's really sweet. The plants are just like whispering.
If it's being sweet and that things in you, yeah.
Be kind.
Yeah, I think seems like they mostly just want to teach the like simple truths of life.
Interesting.
Nothing like too complex. Just like just that, like be kind.
So that's an interesting way to get an idea.
That's a super interesting way to get an idea.
Told by plants.
Does have a plant give you an idea? Yeah. Totally. Yeah, like I had like a, you know, I was like, I want to make like a little. I don't even know. I think it was the bamboo that I have was like, a couple of them had died, and I took a couple down, And I was like, oh, sweet, I can use this as like a trellis, like over my door, and like have flowers, a little archway over my door. You know, oh, that'd be cool.
Wasn't it? They kind of like guided you to that.
I mean, just in the simplicity of them like being there,
Oh yeah.
you know, and me seeing like I wouldn't have had that idea probably if I probably wouldn't have like gone out and bought bamboo to make an archway, whereas like the bamboo was in front of me and it inspired me to create with it.
Oh
you know?
yeah, interesting.
Like the resources that are in front of me inspire me to like do things with them,
Right.
which is like probably where a lot of my ideas come from. You know, like music, like writing songs almost always comes from an experience I'm having or witnessing someone else have. So those
Like
are like,
like lyrically, or
yeah, lyrically. Well, lyrically and most clearly lyrically,
Mhm.
but you know, I'm sure like, but definitely other times like I am expressing my emotions through the notes and the chords.
So, do you think do you see like a level of like pattern recognition involved almost, you know? Not just like with your process, but like kind of in general of like, okay, well, like with what we got around us, you know, it's like, what's a potential pattern that I can use this in to then therefore get said result, you know? Do you think that it's just that kind of thing, or
This is a part of it, like with building something, or yeah, they say building something. Maybe you're like, I've built something like this before, but then now you have some bamboo that you haven't built something with, and then so maybe you kind of take the new thing and fit it into your old pattern, which creates a new pattern.
Right.
So
right.
then it grows, and same with music, right? Where like maybe I'm playing something in a new way, and that makes me think of a way I've played something before, and by integrating that into integrating the new thing with the old thing, I mean that's like so much of like what people create.
Right.
It's just like integrating new things into old things.
Continual growth. Yeah.
It's like building blocks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like climbing thing. Interesting. Yeah, I definitely think that it's like an aspect of it. It's like seeing. I don't know. I'm like I don't know how to word it exactly, but like there's like a part of me that wants to be like, oh well, that then the new growth and like innovation is essentially just like this excretion of the collective like culmination of just kind of like an inevitable process, you know, and like that sounds almost really like dreary and like gray and lacking of like creativity, you know, and like essence, and like which I is like all around us all the time. So it doesn't encompass the entirety of the realm to me, you know. While it's definitely like a part of it, you know, it's like such uniqueness and like how, you know, could just like everything that you've seen, you know, from not just seen, you know, but like experienced in just a musical sense, you know, like it's been from your perspective, which like right now your perspective's looking like you can see the thing that I can hear behind me and I can't see because I'm facing you, you know. So it's like, but we're sharing this like moment together right now, you know, in a sense. And but like yeah, so it's like we have the same materials kind of, but also like, you know, there's this flavor that like only said individual can like, you know, or like, you know, active part of, you know, like, yeah, expression or you know, I mean, that's, I guess, thing pretty unique to human beings is that we can like work with and like, I mean, it's not necessarily unique. I mean, like, you know, ants and everything's kind of like doing stuff, but we can like create and like build, you know, like complex machines and you know, instruments and stuff like that. So it's like, you know, from being able to do that, it's like,
Well, we all are working with the same. Kind of yes and no. I feel like that we're all working with the same material.
well, I mean,
Because people are dealt very different hands,
yeah,
and we have very different situations. I guess if you're talking about like material possessions, we're all dealing with very different. But if you're talking about like energetic, like life force,
like a cosmic toolkit
yeah,
or something.
yeah,
It's like, it's like each of us have
cosmic
like,
toolkit, then yeah,
we,
we're pretty much working
we
with
can
all the
kind of
same
like
stuff. I would say.
You think?
Seems like it.
Yeah, I don't know. I know for me, I'm not like right now in my life, I definitely have certain things in my cosmic toolkit, so to speak, that I did not have in the past, that like I got from just living life and like getting older and being like, oh, that happens,
Yeah,
that
but-
kind of, you know, thing.
But is it that you didn't have it in your toolkit, or is it that you didn't like know you had it in your toolkit?
Okay, yeah, I could. That's a good. Yeah, that's a very, very important distinction, I think. Yes, thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah.
and I think that's kind of what I
Like I'm
I've
sure
been
you have a
trying to-
ton of things in your toolkit that you don't know you have in your toolkit yet. Still.
Yeah, and I think those things are like, you know, can just keep giving power and potential to like the parts of us that can express what only we can express ourselves, you know, because we're all standing from like our own place, you know, and like, you know, and I don't know, it's making me think like it's like something I was thinking about recently was just like I used to just kind of have this mindset of like, well, you either got the thing or you don't, kind of, you know. It wasn't like that cut and dry for me, but there were certain things that I had like kind of accepted like that in a weird way. Like like I was like, I guess I don't have a singing voice or whatever, you know. I was like, it's just not the thing that I do, you know. And then it's just kind of like, oh wait, well no, if you could just practice, like it is something that you could just do, kind of, you know, in a sense. And then specifically with singing, it showed me this. It's like, oh, it's not like it's you just use your voice and sing with your voice, and like when you just do that without like essentially holding myself back, you know, then it's like, oh, I can actually like hit the notes and things, you know. It's like the thing that was making me not able to was literally me not thinking I was able to. Because I, for whatever reason, imposed upon myself, like, I guess I just don't have a thing that like someone, you know. But then it's also like, you know, playing a guitar or a drum set or something like that is like, that doesn't just start off like being able to do it, you know, or understand, or a piano or anything, you know. But it's always so easy to look at it as you know, see somebody playing something that like took them, you know, tens of thousands of hours to be able to get to, you know, and just be like, wow, okay, well, I guess if I can't immediately be like that, then like there's no point, you know. And like, and I know in my life that's translated to kind of like a lot of things, like kind of anything other than music, because it's like the thing I've done the most. So, but because it could feel daunting to like just try to do anything really, you know.
Yeah, looking at somebody who's like put so much time and effort into something and comparing yourself to them is like it's so brutal, but we do it for some reason.
But that's like almost like a backwards for the thing of it, you know. It's like an aggressive stance on what we're seeing, you know. It's like seeing somebody who's like really awesome at something that like we think is cool, and being like, oh, I'm not that. It's like that, you know, instead of like, holy shit, people can do this. Like, wow, like that's crazy. Like, wonder what it would be like if, like, you know, or whatever, if so and so is, or if, like, wonder what it would be like if I could play basketball like that, you know? And I'm like, oh, maybe I'll fucking try, like, or whatever, you know? See if, like, a thing resonates or not, because that's the thing. Like, I mean, let's be real. Like, we don't all have the same, like, cosmic toolkit. Some people don't have hands, you know, or whatever the thing is, you know. So it's like, in some way, like, because there's these aspects of ourselves, you know, there's like that, you know, our ability to, like, interact with the world, you know, to an extent, it, like, is an extension of, you know, our expression, and that is limited for some people in certain ways, you know. And so that is something that, like, yeah, definitely think about. But but yeah, sorry, lost my train of thought. It'll probably boomerang back around. But yeah, it's just what we've been talking about is encompassing so much, and I'm just kind of like, wait a second.
Totally,
like,
I know. I keep getting like little like.
What exactly am I trying to
Those
point?
like ideas that we're talking about.
But that's I think what it is that, like, I like, the thing that I feel like I'm trying to talk about is, like, the thing that you can't, you know. It's like, you can only, like, dance around it, kind of, you know. I don't know. So do you think that you said something earlier about, like, this, like, almost like idea field or something, like, around us, you know, or this, like, inspiration or energy around us that, like, maybe not idea field's the best, but this, like, energy that can, like, you know, that, however you want to look at it, is around us, is external from us, is within us also, and we can tune into it, you know. Like, I've been thinking a lot, like, where, like, our bodies and, like, our conscious with almost like these, like, antennas, or, like, meat tuning forks or something like that, you know. And so, like, okay, what else is going on? Can we tune in to certain things or not, you know? And I've got patrol around, but
Yeah, they're here.
but
Let's go over this hill.
so do you think that there's, like, ways to be able to, like, maybe tune ourselves to certain things, certain, like, energies or frequencies, you know, that may...
I think that's part of the like
You want to set up you want to set up like in here?
are you filming right here?
Yeah, seems like it. Yeah, well,
Should we take a pause?
Yeah, let's take a pause.
Okay.
All right, we're back, and this podcast is brought to you by Many Oaks.
Many oaks.
Many Oaks, or singular oak in this instance.
Not to be confused with many yolks.
Many Oaks, Many Oaks, coastal oaks. We're sitting in a coastal oak tree, if it's a type of oak tree now, and it's holding us.
It is a type of oak tree.
Pretty sturdily. So what we talk about tuning forks, being tuning ourselves to.
You were asking me if I thought we could tune ourselves. And I was gonna say yes. I think that's like the same thing as, like, what I was talking about with the like the rhythm, when you, like, get in rhythm of your life. I think that's, like, the same or very similar. How I think that would be another way to look at it. If you're in tune, if you've, like, tuned yourself to hear or tuned yourself to be in harmony, I think would be a better way to put it.
Harmony with what?
With, I guess maybe that's, you know, with things that you want to be in harmony with in your life. Like, have worked on tuning myself to be in harmony with myself, to be in harmony with like what the like path that makes me thrive and makes me happy and feel important, and I've worked on tuning myself with the kind of people that I like resonate with and want to be surrounded with. I've worked on tuning myself to be in harmony with well, like I was talking about with the plants, like that's the thing. Like
Mhm.
keep yourself in harmony with the plants. And I'm definitely like I'm in like beginner plant harmony class for sure. like like started taking classes last month kind of thing.
Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah. What have you been or do you want to be in harmony with?
I don't know. Definitely with myself, but also like, I've been thinking about like what that means exactly. It's like, wait a second, hold on. What are the aspects of myself that like who is trying to harmonize with what and who? Who are these different? Who are these different me's that need to harmonize together? I guess. Stuck in the middle with who? But but yeah, I don't know. I've been like just kind of thinking about that and just trying to like really self-reflect a lot and just be like, okay, hold on, what kind of like patterns and habits do I have, and certain things like, oh, how am I like, how do I think and act out of the momentum of patterns, things like that take different form based on just time going by and like context changing, and just being like, hold on a second, let me not, like just kind of seeing that sort of stuff. And musically, I'm like really trying to get in tune, like musically, and like, but that's the thing. To what is what I'm curious about, because it's like, wait, what is it, like, what is in me that like can detect what, because I like hesitate to be like, oh, this is something that I feel is good to do or good to like spend time doing, or like, or whatever, or that's not, or something. But it's more just like a feeling that I just kind of know, like, oh yeah, that direct, or like, oh, like I want to play the guitar in this way. I'm going in a direction seemingly because there's it almost feels like something like implying, like, something emotionally too, like in a feeling sort of sense. It's like, oh, I want to feel this sound get to a certain place, or like, and where that place seems to be outside of just like my own self,
I feel like it's like a chicken and the egg situation where it's like, is your like interest and desires what is dictating the like pole of the universe, or is the pole of the universe dictating your desires? You know what I mean?
Yes,
Like,
exactly.
I don't know.
Yeah. Or is it like it's a dance,
Or
potentially.
Is it
it's like
thing?
yeah, it's like a
Up in
collaboration, like as above, so below, and so with that, it is like, resonating with ourselves in a sort of sense. It's like resonating with where we're at, or harmonizing, however we want.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, where you're at.
And like
you is a constantly changing thing.
Yeah, from moment to moment, we're never. That's the thing. The present moment, like, it doesn't even exist. It's not a thing that can be like, it's the sand pouring through our fingers. So it's not like this. It's just moving always, and like we get in. It's like a sticky fly trap of a thing to just be like, oh, I'm like this, or oh, this is like that, or like it's gonna be, so it's, or because it's like we just know like what is it actually like right now? Yeah, it might be kind of similar, but also like, yeah, and there does seem to be like a flow and a pool of the universe in some sense, and like and it's like in this creative and like interconnecting sort of way, and like at least to me, that like with the guitar, it's one of the reasons I can't stop playing it. It's because it seems like I keep finding ways how everything's just like more connected and more like just like involved with each other, and the more like the more potential, the ever growing potential of like every tone to play with each other in like certain ways. It's just like, oh, it's just the more you go down a path, like the more potential there is for for harmony, like within that.
Yeah, and like you being inspired to create more music adds to the pool of music, which then inspires other people to be inspired to like create music, and it's just like this cycle where like I don't that was like a slow evolution to get to where it is now, but it's all like every little piece of it is like a part, and there's so many stages and everything, but it's all just like creating itself over again. And, for some reason we have this immense desire to create things. I don't know why.
Feels good. It's fun.
Yeah, I feel bad when I'm not creating things. I feel not good.
Yeah.
When I'm stagnant. And
that's what makes me feel like we're these like antennas in some sort of way. If we're constantly taking in like experience and information, but like not letting it out in any way, then like we're just like it's not. It's at some point just gonna zap out. Instead of having like a flow. And it's like, oh, how clear is the signal, or something like that. That's like music is such a cool way for me personally to be able to like, it's like, okay, out of all the things that I've been doing in my life so far, playing a guitar is kind of like probably time wise, it's like, okay, kind of, and by doing that, it's almost like, okay, let's just pick this one channel, it's like you got some old radio or something, and you got like the antenna, and you gotta like hold it in the right spot to get it like as clear as you can. And it's kind of like, okay, well, like maybe it's like a guitar is like a certain type of paintbrush, or something like that. There's that literal paintbrushes, there's banjos, mandolin, there's all these different ways to like create like experientiable expression. And by like just kind of focusing on something and being able to like just get good at something, or not even get good at something, like what I mean by that is like what you're saying, be in harmony with something to an extent to where like you and it can like speak, kind of together.
You can, like, express yourself through it. Yeah, I listened to this cool podcast the other day that these guys were talking about a lot of the frustration that they were talking about musicians, and a lot of the frustration that people have in learning music is that there's a separation from what you want to do with music and to like the time you're actually putting in. So whereas like a lot of, especially like there's a massive guitar player complex where people want to be rock stars or whatever, and yet they pick up the guitar like once a week or something, and they're like, why don't I sound like a rock star? And you're like, because you're not playing enough.
Yeah.
And when you are realistic with yourself and you clearly like can identify like this is what I want to do with my instrument, then you have to ask yourself, okay, am I willing to like put in the effort to get there? And I thought about this the other day because I was like, I don't know if I've ever like, they're like, get clear with yourself on what you're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like obviously especially in music, there's a huge array of like going with the flow and figuring out where it takes you. But like, and so that's why at first I was kind of stuck. I was like, well, I don't know. Like, I don't know. And I was like, well, I'm clear that I want to be able to clearly and easily express myself and my experience through music.
Mm.
And for me, what that means is like having the like knowledge of theory and technique and experience, so that when I have musical ideas, I can express them. You know, like I'm definitely not there. There's definitely things where I'm like, I'm like feeling like this, and I like can't do it, or I'm like feeling this thing, and I'm like, I'm not quite sure how to express that. And definitely my goal is to one day be able to it just be like this open channel and it just flow without any like without having to like think about this that and think about like to get past the point to where I don't even have to like think about the theory anymore. I don't have to think about like to know it so well that I can just like and just be and it like come out.
And like tuning yourself to like a guitar specifically.
Yeah.
And like that realm.
Totally. And my voice.
Yeah. Do you think that you would ever try other ways to do that too, like expressing yourself like in that manner?
I would be open, but
Not necessarily just musically.
not just musically.
Musically, yes, but like not just, you know, like you in like other ways. Like would you ever see yourself like painting, you know, or something, like in an attempt to not be like, I want to paint a shiny apple, but to be able to like find a way to like really get that similar, like I've expressed myself in some sense through this medium, like.
Yeah, I'm open to it. I haven't found anything else that is as clear of like a channel for me and is as like feels as in tune with me already. But I'm open to it.
So within music, has there been any like other instruments or anything that you've thought about like potentially?
Yeah, I mean, I'm super interested in learning more piano. I'm pretty interested in percussion, but it doesn't feel as clear of a like expression. Like it feels like there's not enough for me to express what I want to. I guess for like a lot of the things that I mainly feel I need to express through music, it doesn't feel like enough.
Yeah.
There's definitely like I can express like certain moods and emotions through other instruments. But for like the thing that makes me like know and feel that I have to just like keep playing music for the rest of my life, to express those things, I feel like it's like guitar and singing. Those are the things that I like.
That's pretty cool.
And mainly because those are the things that so far I'm best at, and so therefore, like I was saying, like I want to be like to a point where I can like really easily and clearly express what wants to come out. And so I feel like for that sense, to prioritize something is like important.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I mean, it's like, because you're recognizing we're here for, you know, set amount of time.
I recognize that I'm already, you know, at best like a quarter of the way through my life.
Yeah, right. And like, yeah, I've been seeing the same thing. We're like, okay, hold on, what have I actually been doing? You know, like, and which is like probably, you know, well, mostly what I want, which is generally playing music. But it's like, oh, that's what's been happening, like specifically, yeah, like with the guitar, you know, or something like, and yeah, it's so interesting to think, just like, okay, like to have something so just like clear to like focus on, like, okay, this channel is what's going to be the, I'm going to get really clear at this channel, and so then like finding ways like to like, yeah, in a sense, like tune ourselves, you know, to that. Like, so I'm thinking, remembering now when you and I were playing like all the time, and we were like just down in the city like too much at one point, and we were just like, it felt like when we would play and perform, it was just like, I don't have anything to like, nothing new, and but then we would start intentionally going out into like the mountains and stuff and go do things and go like explore in between, like, you know, playing, you know, sets or whatever, and like, and I personally felt like, okay, wait, no, now I have, there's something else to like be able to like, because the energy isn't just totally from like, you know, myself in a sense, it you know, and it just seemed like it was just like squeezing a towel dry without, you know, allowing more energy to come through, you know,
more like inspiration and more like the intended thing you're talking about. You need to absorb some things to, there's like two ends of that. Sometimes you're like absorbing a ton of information but then not excreting it, not expressing it.
Right.
And then sometimes you're like just expressing a bunch of stuff but you're not taking anything new in, and you're just like
well, so within, you know, and I've been thinking about this musically, like, because it, like, it's like, okay, what do I want to express, you know, and like, because it's like, if I'm playing, you know, music all the time, or like, you know, playing a certain thing a lot, or like singing something often, or whatever it is, or thinking something often, like those are the feelings of those thoughts, you know, like whatever it is that I'm thinking about, if like gets to reverberate, you know, and then branch off from like those certain things. For example, like, yeah, if we're just playing the same songs, ringing them out, or like playing like the same, you know, like just going about like the same approach but without like doing anything in between, you know, and I'm sure this like applies in more so than just music. It's just like it gets to, it's like, it's just draining, literally, you know, because it's like, oh wait, there's not like a flow in, like nothing's being like, you know, there's nothing to express, you know, because we're not just ourselves, you know, like it's the relationship that we have with like every, you know, moment that we're in, it seems, and then like to express that, it like, you know, to me is like such a huge part of like playing, you know, playing music is just like to add to that, you know, aspect of the universe. And you know, it's so cool playing guitars because it's like, oh, this thing's made, this is like this wood, this is like a you know, this was once like a tree that was, you know, who knows where or like what, you know, but then like to be like, okay, this, it can sing if I can like let it and make sounds with it, you know, and stuff, and you know, and it's like you can't even, you can't play a guitar without another being, you know, it's like it's such a collaborative effort that it's just like, okay, I've just to be able to play a song, there's so many people involved, you know, from making the strings to like all the different stuff, and it's like, wow, okay, like what am I really singing for and like expressing for in this sense, you know, because it's like, to me it really shows this, just points at like how interconnected and interdependent everything is, you know, and for like the sake of everything, it's like we're all kind of like holding each other up, like we're all flying because we're all like holding each other up, you know.
you can also find a like amount of love and respect for like talking about like a guitar and being made out of wood, and there's an amount of like love and respect you can show to that once like tree and give it like do it justice to and like tying some of that of your intention into when anything you play on it, being like, I'm going to like make this worth you getting cut down and turned into a guitar. Like I'm not gonna waste your life.
Yeah.
Which is cool. And that's like true of so many things, like a piece of paper or your car or anything.
I mean,
we use so many natural resources. Anything you use is like.
But our time.
Your time. I mean, that's something that's yours and also should be shown self-respect and love.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, because I mean, here we are sharing time, right now, and it's like, which is also huge, in its own sense, and it's just like, oh man, the worst thing is when you feel like you're wasting time. You're just like, wait.
Or it feels shitty to waste someone else's time.
Or like have your time wasted, and you're just like, hold on a second, hey, I've just been.
Totally. That's like a huge, like that's something that you can, when you like value that, you're like particular about how you spend your time. And the more that you value your time, the more of a like gift it is when you give it to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Which is really cool.
And within that, you can like see the things, like you were saying, like you've been playing guitar mostly, as have I been. So it's like, well, I guess, how much time do I have relatively to go to this other thing right now? How much has gone in so far, and just kind of being able to like, it's a cool way, it's a cool perspective to have. Like, okay, well, where, with only so much time and with like such importance of it, because it's also like we're not like the things that we do aren't just for ourselves, just like it's just not in the same sort of way as like a guitar is not a guitar without a tree, like we're not,
You're not worth much if you only invest your time into yourself.
Yeah, it's what is it for?
Or if you only invest time into yourself, like for yourself.
Yeah. Which I think like at some point is necessary, if you're like in a place where it's just like, oh shit, man, like I just gotta take care of myself. Like, yeah, like you gotta, like only you can do that for yourself in a sense, but also at the same time, like, yeah, I mean,
that's what I said.
That's
like investing time into yourself for yourself only,
Yeah. Well, I think about a lot. I still haven't read the book, but you're always telling me to. But I just remember a part that you told me about from it was talking about like having like your own cup of love like overflowing, and then that's what you can like make sure that you're like coming from a place where that interaction and stuff can be in a place of yeah, because it's like
that's from The Road Less Traveled.
Yeah,
I was just telling Josh about that.
Cool. Yeah, still haven't read it.
I was like, it's been so long that I can't actually. He was like, oh, what is it about? What is it about? I was like, dude, I can't even remember it. It's awesome.
Just remember that I enjoyed it.
The aspects of it.
But yeah, I think about that kind of idea a lot, because I'm just like, okay, wait, do I have energy to like? Because it's like, wait, if I'm just like giving my energy out and like not, then like that's kind of just bad, It's just kind of like, well, not necessarily bad, but it's just like, oh, that's not, it'll just cause like a decline for yourself, and then
it's unsustainable.
Yeah, and then in like the sense that we're all interconnected, and like it's like, oh, well, then you're not, then that makes things harder in general,
Right,
You
like
know?
if you're not thriving because you're giving all your time to someone else or something else, then in the end, no one is going to be thriving from you either.
Agreed. Yeah. Yeah, it's important.
There's so much power, and it's like it's all there. Just like recognizing it is all it takes.
Hmm.
It's like you are so powerful, and your time is so valuable. Your words are magical. All these things are like true once you recognize them. They're like there, and they only get like activated once you like recognize it.
Yeah. I just keep so much of it to me has to do with like intention and like attention and like yeah, just like yeah, just trying to like get to know ourselves actually to be able to like then be interacting from a place you know of like a standing you know because it's like just like it's a lot of like who are we because we've been told so many different things and tried to be turned into so many different things you know it's just kind of like wait a second but like where are we right now you know like what's actually you know important and like yeah I think a lot of things are incredibly important I think like the yeah and it's such like almost a cop out but it's not it's not intentional but it's just like kind of happens where it's like oh it's just everything's interconnected you know but it's like it really is you know but like I mean, yeah basically yeah but and also just
But actually,
yeah planes are like weirdly distracting as they were but yeah alright yeah the woo woo yeah the jet engine like wooed me out but yeah I was talking about like the interconnectedness of everything I think I don't know it's probably nothing very you know substantial if it is it'll boomerang back around as it usually does but yeah I don't know I just think like you're saying there's all this like potential that we have that's just like there but feels like we've kind of been told that it doesn't exist and like actually you know you gotta like buy that somebody's gotta give it to you you know you gotta find that outside of yourself somewhere else you know yeah and that's an unfortunate sort of thing you know just be like wait a minute who's got the thing that I need to complete you know my like whatever it is and yeah I don't really know what I'm trying to say it's kind of like just keep yeah it's funny it just gets to a point sometimes where it's like oh it is just like we're just everything is so connected and we just need to like take care of ourselves and each other you know it just gets so like hippy dippy but also like that alone like that thing in itself to that weird impulse to like diminish it in some sort of way and be like oh it's the woo woo and stuff but it's also like it's like is it not maybe that's a way to not be like over here exclaiming the truth you
well,
know
it's, like,
it's just like no but
it's like what they say like things are cliche for a reason you know it's like the reason it's cliche is because it's so good that people said it so many times that now we're just kind of sick of it but it doesn't make it any less true
yeah it's almost got like a cutting edge to it
yeah
cliche.
yeah
yeah yeah and that's why I was like oh it kind of rides the line of a cop out but But no, I like, I guess it's like, I guess I'm just trying to like find a way to point out or to point at like the potential and like the importance that we each have in our own selves and in our own path, and like and seeing where we're at now, you know, like you and I myself playing guitar and like, you know, expressing ourselves like in that sort of way, and like tuning into that, you know, space in the universe, and you know, and doing this right now, you know, it's like what are we doing, and what is the material that we have in front of us to work with, you know, because that's going to change at some point also, and but what do we have right now, and like what do we need to do to, you know, kind of like, yeah, move within rhythm, you know, of what you're talking about, and like a rhythm again, like at the present moment, it's a thing that's like you're going, you know, forward on. It's not like just okay, here's the rhythm and I can hand it to you, you know. It's like a train almost. It's like a dance going forward. Like that dance changes, you know, right?
Oh, God.
That was another thing. I was like, I can't dance. Like, no, it's not. I'm not a dancer. I'm not a dancer. but that's also not true, you know. It's just like I'm not a dancer if I say I'm not, you know. I think that goes for anything really.
You don't have to be a, you know, I don't know, really mainstream professional dancer. But it doesn't mean you can't be a dance. Accepting where you're at gives a lot of permission to like enjoy yourself. I feel like, you know, like if you're like, oh, I wish I should be better at dancing or something, you know.
Yeah.
And you're like, every
Just
time you
dancing.
dance, you're gonna be like kind of self-conscious about it, and
Yeah,
not enjoy
yeah.
it. But if you're like, I'm not like,
This song's groovy.
yeah, I enjoy the way I dance. I express myself clearly. Maybe I want to get better, or maybe I don't. Either way, I'm like stoked at where I'm at, and then you get to enjoy yourself.
Well, if it's something that like you can do, it's like if you're enjoying yourself, you could be like you're comfortable in the space in some sort of way, and like, yeah, taking off these like expectations, you know, of ourselves to be anything more than like who we are right now, you know. But then like that being exactly how we grow, you know, into, and like that's how the space gets opened up for us to like stand up and like fill it, you know. It's to like let those things down, you know, that like are holding us back from just like pointing back and forth, you know, to some, and like wiggling my hips or some, you know. It just doesn't have to, I don't have to be doing backflips or like anything crazy, but like to express that energy, you know, in whatever way it is, you know, whether it's like a complex idea that's been, you know, that's being expressed through a medium that somebody spent tens of thousands of hours doing, or something where it's just like, oh man, I'm gonna go get down right now, you know, like everybody's over there dancing, I'm getting it, you know. It's just like, you know, that doesn't always happen. Sometimes it does, you know, and so it's like you don't have to, yeah, you know, dance every day of the week to like, you know, be able to get to express that similar energy in a sense, you know. And I think just
it might not be as enjoyable for like someone else to watch.
well, but
that's not the but if that's not the point.
And I also don't think that's true. Like, I think especially the more you're being you know, which I think is like, if you can just like drop the expectations, you know, of whatever the thing is, and then just like be how you are with like how you feel within the thing, you know, and just like, you know, for me, having to not judge myself, then it's like, okay, then I can kind of relax. And then within that, just kind of like relaxing in a sense, that space opens up for me to be myself. And that seems to, it doesn't matter how well I do something. It seems that like, as you know, if we're gauging things from what other people think, it's like, seems like, you know, I mean, for me personally, who I'm hanging around and like want to like, you know, experience life with, I just want people to be exactly who they are, like, you know, as much of who they are, because only they are them, you know, like only you are you. So it's like, I hope that I get as much of who you are as you know, because that's like what it's about, you know.
Why we're here.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, and I think that like, I don't know, I just kept myself from that in so many weird ways. I'm like, I can't dance, literally, you know. But then it's just like, oh, but who the fuck cares?
Yeah, totally. I had quite a long breakthrough of that too. Thinking I was like, it was. I was gonna say, I used to think I looked ridiculous dancing. I was like, no, I think I still look ridiculous dancing. I just don't care anymore. I know I look pretty ridiculous dancing.
Right.
But who cares?
And then that's a different frequency. That's a different frequency from dancing and looking good, but like not feeling it, you know, and like dancing and feeling it being like yourself, and that like energy of like, you know, expression. And
there's a difference between like you're at a concert and somebody's grooving next to you and you can just tell like, damn, they're just like so into it. And that's in that context, you're like, that's really all you. If somebody's like pulling off these fancy dance moves, you're like, whoa. You're like, I'm here for the band, not to see my neighbor dance really well. Whereas if you're going to a show to watch a dancer, that's a totally different thing.
Well, but also, that's the thing, like, you know, like if we're at like a jam session or something like that, like you've having been playing guitar for, you know, 10 years longer than somebody next to you potentially, then like things are going to come out of you that like to somebody who like doesn't do that much, they're going to be like, what the fuck was that? Oh yeah, show off, you know, or something like that. You know, it's just like, what the fuck is that thing?
Totally, no,
you know?
yeah.
And that, but like, you know, so it's like, well, and basically I'm just saying, don't judge anybody for their dance moves. Not that you were,
whether they're
fancy
awful
dancing
or really good. Don't on either end of the spectrum.
Yeah, you know, because it's like, oh, like I think that's such a key aspect of like, quit judging everybody. What the fuck are we judging people on? What like some MTV fucking standards still? What the fuck year is it? What's been going on? Like
MTV
why
doesn't even play music anymore.
Dude, why are we? How old are we?
That's
like,
how old we are. MTV doesn't even play
it's-
music anymore.
But it's like, I don't know. I just like, from my experience, it's like that's the fucking climate that we've just been in. You know, like socially, it's just been like, oh, we're not fucking, you know, it's no point basically. Just like,
Yeah, you're not good enough. Yeah.
or there's got to be some like, just with podcasting and stuff. Even just like that's why I think it's so cool. It's just like, wait a minute. You don't have to just be like some scientist person or like some, you know, a librarian or something like that to, you know, to be able to like talk about ideas that can be learned from, you know, and like to have to use this thing as a medium to learn also. It's like, wait a second, hold on. We live in this weird space of like, you got to have the credentials to be able to like show, you know, like if you haven't spent your 10,000 hours, you can't show up the band practice, you know. Like if you don't have this list of standards down, you know, then like fucking, you know, come back when you do. It's not like that's like that sucks when it's if I feel like we're all been socially in that space unconsensually, you know, because it's totally one thing to be like, dude, what the fuck? Like, I thought we're gonna have this. We're gonna be working on this thing. I thought you were gonna be doing that thing when we came together next. What the fuck? You know, like, come on. That's different than like this whole social expectation of like, oh wait, you're not good, and you're just never like there's. Oh, you never hear the carrot's always a little further. It's you're not quite good enough, and it's kind of
this
like
guy. He's not even 20 years old yet, and he's doing this. And you're 30 and you can't do this, you know.
right.
Yeah.
But what is that? What's that based off of? Like, it's not it's certainly not based off of the love in which like is like trying to be expressed, you know, through a thing, you know, and maybe it's not always like necessarily what we would consider love, you know, that's being expressed, you know, but like, you know, in my mind I think about like some death metal or something, you know, something like really intense music that's like, but also like at the same time, as I've gotten older, I hear that as like its own form of loving music. It's like it's this extreme love that's like that's like loves everything so much that it like embodies the darkness of all things too, you know. And it's just like, oh, I love you.
Loving the darkness is important too.
Right, and like expressing that, you know. But that's something to go back to earlier in the conversation, like when, you know, when you're playing the same songs like over and, you know, I know you've been in scenarios too where it's like, okay, I'm just playing all these songs that are really sad. and
We know.
and then it just keeps me in this like space, you know. I'm just like, okay, no, it's a way to help like express that stuff and like get out of it. But then there comes a point where it's just like, okay, now I'm just still playing this thing that just like is resonating on a certain, you know. It's like, okay, hold on, there's at first a way to like express a part of that feeling through this, but then it can turn into like almost perpetuating, you know, that kind of space and that kind of thought, you know. And then just being like, okay, I'm just feeling this again now because I'm just like, I've been feeling this for a while.
I feel it again every time I play a song. That's been, actually, I thought about this recently, and it really tripped me out on how weird it is to like be performing and play a song that I wrote about like a hard or sad time or something, and to like properly like play that song, I kind of have to get into that space.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
like, I kind of go there.
Right.
You know,
Right.
some part of me at least goes there, or I'm just like, or I don't think it sounds very good. You know, and then I'm like just on stage, sad, and not like during the song, maybe there's parts of me that are sad, and then afterwards it's like this kind of like release of having expressed that. But it's like this tender space.
Oh man.
That I'm like, oh gosh, here I am.
Tender boy. So, but that's where I see potential, you know, also in a certain sense, you know, because it's like, in that same sort of way, what could be, you know, like, with the potential and the power of words, you know, and like what we're saying, and like then like also tonally, you know, like musically, what we can express through that. It's like, we could also potentially like put ourselves in other states of mind too, you know, if we write certain ways and try to play and like, you know, other certain.
Oh yeah, totally. When I sing a song that I wrote about being happy about something, then I get all happy and excited.
Right. That's weird. It's like this weird like emotional roller coaster, at least in the context of like playing like a show, you know, or something like that, playing like a set, you know. It can
Which
be.
I think is cool. I'm into, I mean, as much as I love going to a show where I know it's just going to be like high energy, happy vibes the whole time, for what I want to express and what I really dig is all the like pieces. And like knowing that there's going to be a few moments of like kind of tender, touchy moments.
Yeah, I see. I think that's another part of like the judgment stuff, you know, is like people are always just like, and myself, you know, it's just kind of like, okay, where's the backflips, pretty much, you know. It's like, if you're not,
Do a
you know,
kickflip.
yeah, and it's just like, where's the patience? It's like, hold on a second, we'll get there, like, you know, but like, yeah, because there is that sort of sense, like, but also like, I don't know, music is not just like what happens in the context of like a show, you know, of like a set either, you know. That's like one thing that can, you know, one format that I think can be like played with, but yeah, I don't know, because I mean, I thought that was really, I was like talking about that with with Alex the other day about like when you and I were writing our set list down on like these pieces of paper, and then we'd like play something in them, you know, in it that we didn't write or something, and then like write it off to the side, and then next thing you know, on the piece of paper there's like songs on the side, and then it's kind of like, oh, okay, there's songs on the side that we didn't anticipate, and then we would start intentionally just like writing extra songs on the side in case in the real time we'd be like, oh, let's do this or that, you know.
You'd be like, I feel like we need something in between here.
Right. And so just, and like as I was talking about it with him, I was realizing how much like that way of interacting with the like that space of expression came from just kind of like being able to write things down and like have this other like way of reflecting on, you know, aspects of like the music, you know, because in a similar sort of way, just playing the music and, you know, without like, for us being out in the forest or something and like having other experiences to sing about, it can also like potentially aid in being able to like further express in a certain way to like write things, you know, or like to do certain exercises, you know, like you know, we're talking about like just kind of seeing what it is you're trying, you know, like setting goals and things that you're like trying to do, but like you're like writing them, you know, and like having this like reflective thing like outside of ourselves, you know. So it's kind of what music is in it of itself. But yeah, it's like what we were talking about earlier, like it's kind of like what we can do to, you know, kind of like move ourselves in, you know, in a direction of like a goal or something, you know. But like when it's at least speaking for myself, when it's just in my head, it's just like gets blurry and it's kind of like, okay, well, but now I'm doing this, you know, or that. But if I'm like, you know, working with something like on a guitar, like a concept, you know, it's like, oh, okay, this is something that I'm like actively dealing with, or if I'm like writing something down and then I can look at it and then think about it, you know, have a little space, then I can kind of like, all right, what is that? What's in that? What does that entail? You know, to be able to express yourself through dance or through music or something. You know, it's like, okay, well, what can I do right now to like, you know, to move towards that? Yeah. Sometimes it's nothing, right? You know, sometimes it's just like taking a nap.
Totally. Sometimes it's not really moving forward. Sometimes you need a break.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's like it's felt like for a long time it was just like life's just like happening, you know. You're just kind of like in life, and it's just like all like up and then bam, and then like whoa, and then bam, and it's kind of like, wait, hold on, like I don't know, seems. And I don't think this is like, I don't know, I can only speak for myself, you know. It's like I'm not anybody else, you know. But it's like, seems like there's this potential to just be like, hold on, I'm gonna like go stand over here, you know, or like, oh, I'm just gonna like go practice this thing for a while, you know, and just like, or like I'm gonna get really good at cooking, or whatever the thing is, or I'm gonna work really hard and like try to make whatever, you know, like I want an apartment, you know, with a backyard or something like that, you know. It's like I'm gonna work or do whatever the thing is to get to, you know, the place and stuff, and like, yeah, I don't know, like keep dancing around certain things, and one of them is just like for me self-imposed judgment, you know, that like will like just hold things back, and finding that like through literally just practicing things can find ways to kind of like reorganize ourselves like out of that, you know, and like almost get like footholds in ourselves, you know, through the expression of ourselves, you know, and the refinement of our ability to express ourselves in a sense.
Being like grounded in having like a sturdy place to hold on to.
Yeah, and like and to yell off from, you know, like as a bird in the tree, you know, to like be like, oh yeah, I'm making my bird sound, you know, like I'm here also, you know, like you mentioned it before, like with, you know, within your goal, like of being in a place of like importance, like within the community that you're in, you know, like that's I think we all are everything. Everything that exists is important in pertaining to everything else. But like for some reason, we as humans, and at least in like in our lifetime in this culture, have been really just told we're just not important at all. You know, it's like, hey, what, you think you're important, you know, or anything like that. And so it's kind of like, I don't know. And then it's like, but who actually said that? You know, I feel for me, it's just been mostly myself. You know, just being like, oh, like, yeah, guess I'm just not particularly important, or like whatever the thing is. And then it's just like, so why would I really try to, you know, make bird sounds, or like literally, or but like in my own way. You know, it's like, why would I even try? And then it's like, what? You know, and, yeah, I don't know. I just try to keep pointing in that thing because it's like this like affliction that I know, like I, you know, still like carry around in some way. It's just kind of like, oh, is there some way to like mull ourselves out of this, you know, sort of space? And I think it might literally be like, yeah, tuning into, you know, something that like, this is like, you know, I know for me and for you, it's like playing the guitar. It's like we feel it in ourselves in a sense of like, oh, yes, this thing, you know.
Yeah, you can tune yourself to frequencies that are better equipped for what you're dealing with. You can build yourself like infrastructure to get yourself out of those holes. I was talking to Josh about that, about just telling him like how for me depression has just gotten like easier to deal with. It doesn't just like hasn't just like gone away. It's just that I've like gotten a lot better at dealing with it. So now rather than like being sad for days and weeks and months and years, I'm like sad for like a few hours or something, you know, usually. And it's like literally just because I'm like better now at recognizing like, oh, here's what's bothering me. Oh, and here is what makes me feel better when I feel this way. Here's what I need to either like, oh, here's what maybe I need to feel this for a while, or like, oh, I just need to get up and move, or I need to like energetically move some things around, or I need to motivate myself to like do something, and that's gonna give me the satisfaction and like happiness that I'm desiring.
Sometimes people need like psychotherapy or something like that too, you know.
I did for a while, but now I've built up an infrastructure to where I'm like, oh yeah, like I needed, that was a part of it that helped me get to the point where that was like a step in that was part of the building, you know.
And do you think that was like from, because we mentioned like at the beginning of the podcast of like having our cosmic toolkits, it's like do we all start with all of this already, or is it like, or do we have the tools and then we got to go out and find somebody to help us learn how to use them?
Yeah, I think kind of all the above. I think it's all there. We just have to learn how to use it. Whether that's somebody else helping us, or us learning how to use it. And like a real toolkit, you can build yourself even better. Like a jig is like anything you would make to make building something easier and quicker. So you can like use your toolkit to build a like cosmic jig.
Right.
Like a special thing for like, here's my like kit for when I get sad. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
I built myself my
like
paddle to get up to paddle along the river.
Yeah, no, totally.
When I fall into shit creek, here's my paddle. You know? Oh yeah, cool, I'm ready now.
What songs going through my head these days? And then, you know, like, yeah, interesting.
Yeah, becoming more familiar with yourself makes it a lot easier. So spending the time to like get to know yourself.
Like we were
So
talking
huge.
before we even turned this on, you know, just like, you know, or no, I think it was on, you know, but just like about this space, you know, and just like of us just talking to each other, you know, and like getting to know each other is also a way of getting to know ourselves, you know, by that, you know, I'm able to be like, oh yeah, you know, what am I really trying to say and think
Totally.
about?
The
in
past
this
like
sort of
few
way?
weeks, you've been like a couple of them, but the past few weeks I've had, that's like a month or two, I've had many things that have come up that have made me feel like confused and sad and frustrated, and then like all those like have like compounded onto each other to the point where it gets like pretty disorienting, and I'm like, oh, like it's like almost, it gets like less clear as time goes on sometimes, until I talk to somebody about it, and then I'm like, oh, cool, that's how I feel, right? Okay, cool.
Yeah, right,
Now
right.
I understand how I
Right.
feel, and I understand how to kind of deal with it.
Yeah.
Having that mirror is like so helpful.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes that mirror is a piece of paper, you know, and just like writing, you know, something out too, you know, and
It really solidifies things. Talking to somebody or writing something down, because it either will show you, either you're like either you'll be like, I'm feeling this, and either you'll be like, yeah, that's totally what I'm feeling, or you'll be like, no, that's not what I'm
Right.
feeling. Actually, now that I hear it, that's not how I feel.
So-
and then you'll be able to kind of correct yourself and
Yeah.
learn what it is that you're feeling.
It's almost more like clay than like something solid. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, here we're working with this sort of thing. How is
Well,
this the
it's
way?
kind of like if you were making something out of clay, and as the process goes on, you're like solidifying what the end goal
Right,
is.
right,
more and
interesting.
more. Like you end up
Yeah.
with this, like I think a lot of people feel like a blob of clay, you know, at certain points. You're just like, oh,
Yeah,
you're just
right.
like wrecked by something. And then as you slowly like work it, you like start to like, oh, I'm a cup.
Huh, right.
I feel like a cup right now.
Yeah. Well, what did they say?
I'm
The
thirsty.
sculpture is in the marble. You know, you're just like
Right.
chipping the,
Totally, yeah.
you know, what's around that off, and that's what that's. I mean, in my own life, that's where it's been really interesting. Like I was talking the other day. I was like, I didn't really know why I started like meditating when I did, but or what it would be like, and you know, or whatever. But then over time, from just like kind of meditate, even just like a couple minutes, you know, regularly, it's like get to know yourself. You know, I think that's what it actually like. The idea is what like I heard it's I'm not gonna say it right, but I think that like the Tibetan word for meditation is like it's like gong or something like that, and it's like you know, could be translated to like self-knowing or something. So it's like, oh, you just sit down and you get, you know, these ways to like get to know yourself, you know, and then like from there be able to kind of like be like, oh wait, what? Okay, if I'm like a block of marble, what's the sculptor inside? You know, what's the thing? Like, what can, like, because I do think we all are unique and we all are important, and a part of our importance is our uniqueness, you know. And I think that by getting to know ourselves, because that's the thing, like our uniqueness comes from so many different factors, and one and such a huge one is we're all you and I are experiencing this same moment differently, you know. We can see different things, our senses, this is, you know, and that it's unique to each of us. I'm going to remember this differently than you,
you know, and I think that is exactly why, like, that's where the importance is, you know, and it's like, and then so everybody has something like unique and important to say and to add to the whole of the moment, you know, because that would put truth in the collective sense like a contextual question, you know. It's like we would all have to like agree on what the context is in a sort of sense, and what the context is like kind of made up of all of our experiences in a sense. I don't know. I feel like I might have just wandered out into the weeds a little by the look on your face.
Is that obvious?
No, it happens sometimes. I'm like, is this what I'm trying to say? but no, like, so just like getting to know ourselves, you know, and to be in that space of finding out what is inside of us, you know, that we can like express, what channel, you know, what tools might like I have that somebody else doesn't have, or does somebody else have that, you know, what can I like lend, you know, what can I add to the thing that can like help build the kitchen or something, you know, or whatever, you know. The thing is like, what am I gonna be, a cup, you know, or like what you know, and that's up to us. That's the thing, that's up to us to like really figure that out. And like, unless you're into just being what somebody else wants you to be, you know, which like I don't think that feels very good personally, but like, you know, if that's what you want, you know, but like I do think that everybody can like, you know, is that and can potentially like see that, and then like I don't know what would happen. I'm just like kind of curious to think about if everybody was like really trying to get to know themselves. Yeah, it's like it'd be really hard, really gross, you know. It's just like you know, it's really like an icky, uncomfortable, embarrassing thing, you know. And then like, but I think it's necessary. We gotta like look at the shit and be like, maybe I should eat less corn.
Yeah.
You know?
Always a great analogy.
We've been talking about cliche.
Look at it. Look at it.
For the sake of the next one that's coming, inevitably, you know, and so, you know, and we're all in agreement that time is moving, like we're moving through time, you know. So it's like, okay, yeah. I think you were mentioning it earlier, like, but what are you gonna water? You know, like taking care of the plants. Like, are you gonna take care of the plants? Because that's the only way they're gonna grow. You know? Like, yeah. So we've been going for like 2 hours. Yeah. And converse and explore. You know me, I can explore the weeds for a long time.
I feel like I'm getting to a point of the like drive dwindling. The egg is starting to thin. And my mind's starting to be like pew, 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 pew.
Yeah. This is the longest one I've done so far.
Really?
Yeah. They're usually just like an hour. It's like, it's interesting. It like kind of turns into like a little bit of a different thing after you go for a while. But it was fun, dude. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah.
It's fun to like explore around. You know, it's kind of like, oh, well, let's mold the clay like this. That's an ugly cup. Let's.
I don't like that cup.
No, there's like a hole in the side, or that's gonna leak. You know, that's obviously not a cup. Let's try to rebuild again. You know, and I think that kind of starts to happen when it gets longer. You know, it can be like, that didn't make any sense. At least for me. You know, man, thanks for doing this. This is fun. Excited to
Yeah, I'm stoked that you're like finally doing this. You're like the perfect person.
Thanks. Yeah. Looking forward to being able to do this again.
Yeah.
Okay. Love you, dude.
Love you too.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks for listening, everybody. That was Michael Nichols. I will have a link to his music, his band's music on SoundCloud, Moondog and the Astral Cats, and I know they're making new stuff, more stuff today. I don't know if there's any way to get to that now. Once there is, if there is, once I hear from him, I will incorporate links and whatnot. So really thank you. Thanks for listening. Thanks for sharing in this moment. Yeah, super cool. I love you. Take care. Until next time.